No, but Leicester West is a constituency that is poorer than the average. So, in general, because of the way our system works, which is an unfair, unequal system, people have less qualifications and less chances of getting well-paid jobs.
How would you seek to improve the education of people in Leicester West?
I would say put more money into schools, have smaller class sizes, and allow free education at every level, including university level. Many other things as well, but on a short answer, that was what I'd say.
So staying with the theme of education, do you support the application of top-up fees or tuition fees for
Definitely
people that
not.
go to university?
Fees should be scrapped. I'm against increasing top-up fees, which is what the government's plan is. Education should be free. They could pay for it with a fraction of the money they spend on nuclear weapons or wars.
40%, I believe.
And do you know how it compares to the national average?
It's a lot higher.
So yeah, the national average is about 16%. How would you seek to improve the education of people in Leicester West?
I think it's important to get engagement in the schools and investment in the schools, especially in teaching, not just to pass tests, but teaching people to actually learn things and get people interested in learning. And I think it's important as well to reduce class sizes if possible, so that people who are the brighter students can get personal treatment, and the people who are less bright, more troublesome, maybe can get that treatment so they can concentrate on their grades.
So staying with the theme of education, would you support the application of top-up fees or tuition fees for people at university?
I'm against top-up fees at university. I think students pay enough as it is, especially with the it's like £3,500 or something nowadays, and it means when you come out of university you're in a lot of debt, and it can put off the poorer people going to university.
No, I was estimate between no qualifications to include things like GSCs and things like that. 10 to 20%.
So in Leicester West it's just under 40%.
Under 40.
And the national average is about 16%, so substantially higher in this constituency. How would you seek to improve the education of people in Leicester West?
Well, we want to invest in public services in general, and of which, of course, education would be one of them. One of the ways we do that is a lot smaller class sizes. We try to we abandon SATs and league tables, so that more the teachers can be allowed to teach and not have to do so much work on bureaucracy and getting people past exams. It's more about education than passing exams, is our policy.
So staying with the theme of education, would you support the application of top-up fees, tuition fees?
No, we're totally opposed to tuition fees. Full stop. In our manifesto, we would get rid of them completely.
When I looked it up on the National Statistics site, I believe it was about 13% that don't have qualifications for this area.
And on a national average, the local figure is a lot higher than the national average. So I think it's about 40% locally, and about nationally it's about 16%. So how would you seek to improve the education of people in Leicester West?
What I'd like to do, I've said this in my manifesto, is that I'm not a big fan of bureaucracy. I believe that bureaucracy plays a big part in preventing head teachers to do their full potential with teachers. Because I mean, teachers are really good, head teachers are really good. We've now got new schools, so there's something going wrong, and to me it's the bureaucracy. If we could just stop Ofsted going into schools, pronouncing them failing without coming up with any real solutions as to why they're failing or how to address the reasons why they're failing, then and do away with league tables, then I think that'd take most of the pressure off head teachers, and they could be able to inspire the teachers. Head teachers best know the catchment areas, and they also know like the general people. If it's like a low income family or whatever, they best know the kids.
So staying with the theme of education, would you support the application of top-up fees, tuition fees for people that go to university?
I'm sort of neutral on that. I understand, like in Scotland, because with me, the people in England are like the forgotten people. apart from in London. But in Scotland, it's free university places for everyone, and I'd love, England to have free university places. But there's a lot more people in England, so I can understand people having to pay a little bit, but not as much as they are now. And when the government first introduced it, they said that they wouldn't go up, and they've just announced that they are going to go up tuition fees. So to me, it's just another stealth tax on students.
A lot higher than the national average, over a third, probably a third to 40%, something like that.
Okay. And do you know how it relates to figures on a national average?
I would think it's probably twice as high at least as the national average.
So how would you seek to improve the education of people in Leicester West?
There's a whole range of things. Firstly, we need the schools to be improved. We've lost several schools in Leicester West over the years. So we need better education, more sixth forms, more consistent education. We're just losing Riverside School, one of the best performing schools here. But yeah, better schooling, more college places, probably internships and apprenticeships. Apprenticeships are a good way of doing it as well, I think, if companies can take people on and then you can further your education whilst you're working. Because I think one of the big drawbacks is people feel that they'll need to go out and get a job to sustain themselves, and they can't necessarily afford to go into higher education. So that it's an in-between path, I think, that would help.
Staying with the theme of education, would you support the application of top-up fees or tuition fees?
No, absolutely not. I'll expand on that slightly. Students leave the university now. At the moment you're paying something like £3,500 or £3,000 a term. There's plans to increase that to £7,000 a term. You leave university, massive debts, before you've even started work. I think it should be free at the point of delivery. It needs to be funded, certainly, and the universities need money, but there's better ways of doing than that, so we wouldn't support tuition fees, and in fact our party has plans in place to scrap tuition fees completely over the 6-year period.
I don't, actually, Lucy. I imagine that we have quite a lot of young people here who may not either have good GCSE results or an access to MVQs or training qualifications. I know that that's a real issue, but I don't know the exact percentage.
Okay, so I think it's just below 40% for Leicester West, and the national average is a lot lower at 16.4%. So how would you seek to improve the education of your people in Leicester West?
Well, education is an absolute priority for me here. I think we have seen improvements in our schools. We're doing great things on primary school maths and English results, and our secondary schools GCSE results are now improving faster than the national average. But I want to see good schools in every part of this community, and Labour is also guaranteeing that every 16 and 17-year-old will have an educational training place up to the age of 18. And if you're a young person who's been unemployed for more than 6 months, you'll either get education, job or training place, and that's a really firm commitment that we're going to be paying for by a one-off tax on bankers' bonuses.
Okay, so staying with the theme of education, do you support the application of top-up fees or tuition fees for people at university?
Do you know, I was really worried about them when they were first introduced, because I thought that they would put off kids from lower income families. But actually, all of the evidence suggests that hasn't been the case. In fact, we've got slightly more kids from poorer backgrounds going to university now. Now, I don't want to see people burdened with a large debt, but we've got to find some way of paying for education from the very early years up till university. So I want more university access for people, but I think if you were going to ask me where my priority would be for public spending in future, it would be the very, very early years, because if you can get to help kids early on in life, that sets them up for later on in life.